se tu te siape quidu e ma precu ki preciade dia se topia quidu e ma precu ki preciade dia se topia quidu ona te progresso so articulata du mo kumia te mateta he kumbe dumrotu mo kumia te mateta he kumbe dumrotu Somra puku de lianape oba te pukloku Ema preku ki prechane rede me praleu Ema preku ki prechane rede me
We're going to be looking at some things about prophecy this morning. That is, the prophets in the Old Testament talking about what would happen in the future.
How do you spell P-R-O?
P-H.
Oh, P-H. R-O. I don't think. Is it P-H-R-O?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's P-R-O-P-H.
Prophecy. P-R-O-P-C-Y?
P-R-O-P-H-E-C-Y.
Oh, ahina tehe pro hipria. Oh, is there a word in the Bible? Like specifically?
Yeah.
Prophecy mada ahe ma esi na hina ko he o chan no ba ma chumre au le de hang ni ba. The Hebrew no to. Prophecy. Don't let the Hebrew only. The Hebrew only.
Now, we don't have a lot of time this morning, so I'm going to try to condense this. The things in the Old Testament that were foretold, that were prophesied of what would come, are extremely important. Because these are important. It's an important thing to show us that the Bible was truly written by God. So many things were foretold, can I use that word? Were foretold in the Old Testament to come to pass hundreds and hundreds of years later. Around Christmas time, we think of those prophecies about the birth of Yeshua.
ai short ni topic ko he sana the birth the Christmas ni ma the Yeshua le pa ai short ni pe ko
And we'll look at some of those in a few minutes.
je pa pe member ai short ko
But to know whether it has been God that has written this Bible, there are different things that tell us that this is so.
ni da ma pe singi chemyo te da ma lisa ta ona ma da chumre a rata na ko he ma pe singi chemyo te ne ma sana a shop pe da ma lisa sa ko to po ko
For instance, even though this has been written over a period of about 1,500 years,
ani sana da lisa na ma a tu ra the a thua na ma wa a da the khelu na ma wa na ta thao na ngai ya cha
only God could do that.
ani ma na hu class ni ma chumre me ami che tu pre
Also, everything that it mentions in the Bible, we find in history that this was true.
ni ba da lisa ku sin ma shoi te bi ko he ma kin pe me ka kya se ne ma a thwa the se na da ma lisa shoi ko
But also, we see the many miracles that have happened. For instance, when God brought the Judah out of Egypt,
ni to pa pe me ta tha ko he ma ite chumre apro pe na ko sana me che te hi sin ko sana u ma da ma ite chumre ik the ke ma jur fu sin ko ik the ke da ik the ke pa ke da Egypt ko
now, where it comes to miracles, Satan can do some smaller miracles.
ni da pe me tha ma chumre me che te che sana a do me appropriate ne ma ba na ke na ma da te pi su lu na ma ami che ke ne na ma sana au ki ba ko sana pate le ya na chumre me che ba
Remember how we just learned in 2 Thessalonians that in those bad 7 years, Satan will do many powerful miracles.
ani sana pe to ma ki ma da the fa na pas srai fu pe da ma do Thessalonica ku no ko he ma ite pe me tha na ma shan no pa na so sa ta na ku na ma pi su lu na ma he me che krai te sana du me ni da ami che mi re an tho du ki tu bak te ko asana pe hu no ko
God will allow that.
da ma pi su la mi ami che ra appropriate sia du me a che na ma da chum me le kha lu ko no me lu
So that tells us that just because we might see that just because people see miracles does not automatically mean that that is God doing it.
me no ha sana ona to por po pe me tha ma all ko na ma da ami che re ne asana pe te ne hu no class na ma pe te to por po ma da chum re ami tho the ma to ko
But there's one thing that Satan cannot do.
I da miracle ma ana te ta kli ko ki mana au te che mana ma pi su na me ni to ko
Now, Satan is powerful and he is clever. But there is one thing that only God can do.
ni da ma pi su na ma appropriate ma du go ve he na ba ena ma ali men ni ko mana au te che ma da ami a te che ma su ma da chum me mi che tu ke ba
In the book of Isaiah, and we're just going to read this one verse. This is, unfortunately, we don't have it in the Korean Bible yet. But Isaiah chapter 46, if you want, you could, well, Isaiah, I was going to say you could read it later, but you can't read it later. I'm just going to tell you what it says here.
Isaiah 46
Isaiah 46 and verse 9 and 10. Isaiah 46, 9 and 10. Here, God says, I'm just going to give part of what the verses say. He says, there is none else. I am God. There is no one else like me. And he goes on in the next verse, and he says, I tell the future from the beginning. I tell the future, what is going to happen in the future. Only God can do that. He has not given Satan the power to do that, to know the future. The only things that Satan knows about the future is what he reads in the Bible. And Satan knows the Bible very, very well. In the Gospels, at one point, Satan appeared to Yeshua and was talking to him and was quoting verses from the Bible. Now, that makes us think, well, if he knows the Bible and he knows he's going to be cast into the lake of fire, then why does he do what he does? The only explanation I have for that is that sin makes us and Satan quite stupid. Sin can drive a person to do wrong things, even though he knows that there is punishment coming. So, anyways, there are many, many, many prophecies in the Old Testament that hundreds of years later have come true. So that tells us that the Bible was written by God, and it tells us that Yeshua is the Messiah. Now we're running out of time, so I'm going to be very quick here. there is a prophecy that Messiah would be born in Bethlehem.
mà đó ai số này thôi bị có hay đó thì tên là kêu mà thì bị mà sai mà bây giờ số mà heo lệ đó mà Bethlehem anh đâu cũng có
And that, of course, was true.
nhưng mà thọ thêm này
There was a prophecy that Messiah would be a descendant of King David.
và đó ai số này thôi bị có hay đó mà Yeshua lệ cũng mà sana kuliku đó mà khui David phụ lệ của sana kuliku
The Judah who studied the Old Testament, and they knew this.
mà đó Judah phụ xin mà una Apali xin mà sinh nhiều có hay đó Yeshua lệ cũng mà đó mà khui David ite kuliku có
But there's one thing that confused them, that they didn't understand.
mà đó ao từ mà đó sinh nhiều lý do là ngu bất mà sana đó sinh nhiều mà plu tu
And that is that Messiah, when he comes, it is going to be, he will be God.
đó sinh nhiều mà plu tu mà sana đó ite ba Yeshua heo lệ mà heo lệ đó hi khu mà bị mà sai heo lệ đó hi khu nó bên kia mà anh rất là kia mà atho mà đó atho chung rep à
One of the books in the Old Testament is called the book of Micah.
đó lý do là cũng mà tổ in đó Micah
And it says that Messiah would be born in Bethlehem.
đó lý do cũng mà hay na giờ sẽ Yeshua mà bị mà sai mà heo lệ đó mà Bethlehem cũng
But it also says that the Messiah, in the same verse, it says that Messiah has been, it's hard to describe this, it's hard to interpret this. But maybe the best way to say it is that it says that Messiah would be he who is eternal.
và ba chỉ lưu tục luôn mà còn hay mai chụp bị mà sai mà ở lệ đó Bethlehem cũng phải chụp nữa mà vẫn là tục luôn cũng mai chụp bị cái sana đó mà sai nữa mà thọ mà đó ite chụp rồi
He will be one that has always been.
để mà thọ mà hu đó từ chiều mà đó áo cái là được áo sana đó là khi về tụi này về áo cũng có
He will be God.
mà sai là mà bị chung rồi mà
This is something that the Judah people, when they read, that they could not grasp that with their understanding.
ni mena da jurpu sinama phalisa batte be ga da ro sinama sana asingi lo ga upload ga mena record ma sana da esi phabatte be singi batte ma sana da amute thamute sana upload asingi to ga
And so when Yeshua came, the Judah religious leaders, they said, you are speaking blasphemy.
mena ma da ba ite ma jurpu si sa du si te na me thama issue no ga bana ken ma hina on nehi na ma mu da nehi la hoe
Because you, being a man, are claiming to be God.
me de ma da ne pe me thau kun ne na ma azana da pe hi ku phu he ma na ne ni na da chumre
We don't have time to go over this verse, but there's a place in the gospel where Yeshua is asking those leaders a question.
to ba li sa sa ko na ha au to ko ma da bana kina ite ba ma jur pu si sala du si e cho e ma issue ne bana kina issue na ha shu del to che ko shu del ka se jur pu sala du si che ko
It was a question about Messiah being, when he came, being God himself.
Ma ali sudah tu namai, ali sudah ada abishan ada itu ba Messiah hewle nama, ba nak kena nama nama cumre ko.
And this question struck the leaders so hard that they had nothing more to say.
Ni ba ma Yeshua sudah lo tu ciri ma itu dah juru khusra dusi ni nama asal nak tapak tu ni juga mina asal lo he nama juga tu tu.
Now, we don't have time to look at that, but I'm just going to tell you where it's found. It's in Matthew chapter 22.
Ma Yeshua ali sudah nama awda
Matthew chapter 22, verses 42 to 45. If you want to look that up, you can watch the video. That's what the video's for. You can look it up and study that. And there's another verse I'm going to quote. It refers back to a verse in the Psalms.
Ma ba, can you repeat that?
Yeah. In the Matthew, it quotes, Yeshua quotes from a verse in Psalms.
Ma ba at pun ma ba Yeshua he bin ko he, ai be shi ma he asana da ka kyato sa da ma da li tu ta cha ku ko.
And that's Psalm 110, verse 1.
110?
Yeah, Psalm 110, verse 1.
Ma da order li tu ta cha ku ma du na ma te na ta se na ba ma ti na ko sana. I ba li tu ta cha ku tu na da ma te ar ko ma sa ri ko.
So, if you want to study that and you have questions about that, we can talk about that in another Sunday school class.
Ba kena sisi singi po ma ar ko he krete ma atitu he titu ma bisana te sisi singi to na sisi sudah titu na mai show sa ai swap is no pani.
But this Christmas time, we want to remember the wonder of God becoming a man.
Mina da Christmas kunne si na ma pe una asana da pe si me asi me more da ma pe singi da ma ite biasa Yeshua twa ma pe he ku no ba.
Let's pray.